what I'm doing is no different than what FDR's solution for Germans, Italians, Japanese, many years ago.
So you're for internment camps?
This is a president who was highly respected by all. He did the same thing. If you look at what he was doing, it was far worse. I mean, he was talking about the Germans because we're at war. We are now at war.
That was 2016. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump defending his plan to ban all Muslims from entering the country until our leaders can properly assess the growing terror threats to the homeland. Here with reaction, author of A More Perfect Union, What We the People Can Do to Reclaim Our Constitutional Liberties, 2016. Republican presidential candidate Dr. Benjamin Carson. Dr. Carson, I see that you have been critical. We have our Homeland Security people, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the House. He says ISIS has a plan to infiltrate the refugee community. James Clapper, our National Director of Intelligence, our FBI Director, our Assistant FBI Director, and many others have all said that ISIS has the potential to infiltrate that population. Are we making a mistake by allowing some of these people in? Does Donald Trump have a point?
Well, as I've said before, it's a false narrative that we only have two choices, to bring in thousands of Syrian refugees or to turn our backs in cold, hard indifference. We have another option, and that is to support the safe havens that they have over there. Jordan has plenty of space for them.
Yeah.
And all they need is more financial support. It's a very false narrative. It's the same as with the Iran deal. We said either we go to war with Iran or we accept this horrible deal. But there's other options. I don't know why we even have to be talking about this, to be honest with you. But what we have to be careful of is not conflicting with the Constitution.
All right,
the Constitution says that we do not discriminate on the basis of religion. However, I don't have any problem with anybody coming here, regardless of their race, creed, religion, if they want to be Americans and if they want to live, the American way of life. But if they want to come here and change it to something else, I have a big problem with that.
Yeah, but nothing that Mr. Trump said indicates to me that he's saying Americans abroad that are Muslim do not have the right to come back. What I took from his remarks is that, wait a minute, all these important people, James Comey, James Clapper, John Kirby, Mike McCall, Congressman Mike McCall, the Assistant FBI Director, Obama's top envoy in the coalition to defeat ISIS, have all said that we cannot vet the Syrian refugees, for example. So until we get to the point where we can fully vet them and guarantee the American people that they're going to be safe, does that then make it a reasonable proposal? Because I agree with you about the safe zones. I think that's a far better solution.
Yeah. Well, it's different than saying that you're going to stop all Muslims from coming. To say that we're not going to admit Syrians unless we have a better vetting process. Those are two different statements.
Well, what he said is he would call for a complete shutdown of Muslims, I assume from abroad. I don't think he's talking about Americans as some have interpreted it, but I'll ask him the next time he's on, entering the country until our representatives can figure out what's going on. And then he went on to say, until we're able to determine and understand the problem and prevent dangerous people from coming in.
Right. He hadn't said anything different than what many of us are saying, and that we shouldn't be bringing people in without vetting them properly. I think where the controversy comes in is when he said Muslims in general. I think that's where the problem came in. And if given a chance to clarify that, I suspect he would.
What do you think about the idea that if you grow up under Sharia law, and you've studied our Constitution, and you've written about our constitutional liberties, there's a direct conflict. To me, it's a 180-degree difference. Sharia conflicts with our constitutional rule of law in this country. So, somebody wants to come having grown up under that system. There's a clash of cultures. How do you ascertain, can you possibly ascertain, if they want to bring those values with them, or if they want to, assimilate into American society? Is that possible to ascertain?
There's no question it's going to be difficult. I think you have to look carefully at where they have grown up, where they've come from. You have to question them. You have to have techniques for questioning them, which will give you an indication of whether they're coming to America to embrace American ideals or whether they want to, in fact, change things. You know, one thing that would be good for people to study is the Holy Land Foundation trial. You know, it started back in 2007.
Yeah.
And during that trial, there was an explanatory memorandum that was discovered about the Muslim Brotherhood's purposes here in America. They want to wage what they call a civilization jihad. They want to infiltrate us, get into positions of power, and actually change who we are. And the Attorney General, Mr. Holder, you know, just put a stop on that trial.
Yeah.
But that's a serious issue, and we know that that's going on, and that's an agenda, and we cannot just close our eyes to that.
It sounds in many ways like you're agreeing with Mr. Trump on this issue for the most part. You would have said it differently. You recently got back from Jordan, and you were at some of these safe zones, and you talked to the people there. And one of the comments that struck me when you got back is you said those people really don't want to come here. The majority of people that you met, they want to go back to their own country.
Yeah, they want to go back. And the other thing that they want is for us to support the efforts of those who are trying to provide safe zones for them. Well, another thing we should be looking at is in northeast Syria. That's an area that's controlled by the Kurds. There's hotels and hospitals and airports. And a lot of the Syrians could be resettled there if we gave the Kurds what they needed in terms of military equipment to be able to defend them. Somehow we don't seem to want to give that to the Kurds unless they're doing a specific operation with us. I think that's stupid. They're very reliable and they're good fighters.
Dr. Carson, you've taken a hit in the polls in the last couple of weeks. As you analyze those polls, what do you make of it? It seems to be nationally Iowa, New Hampshire. Do you think that maybe it's a mistake that you've made, or do you think something has happened? What do you think's happened?
Well, you know, I've been just blistered by the media with any possible thing. I think it's unprecedented. But, you know, polls go up and down, and I don't get terribly excited by them. You know, when I was riding high and people asked me about it, I said the same thing. I said polls go up and down. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think you will see them starting to go back up again.
All right, Dr. Carson, I always appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean.